The Olympics are officially over, and Team America has won both the men and women's gold medals. As you can tell by the tone of my voice, I am not happy. My podcast co-host over here also not happy because we're Canadian. But we do need to talk about it because it was our first best-on-best Olympic experience we had since 2014. We had good moments, we had bad moments, but we're going to start with the overall game reaction of what ended up happening.
So the game overall, what a game to watch, especially if you're neutral or a USA fan, obviously. But it was a fantastic game to watch. I just don't understand how anyone could come up with the idea of not having best on best hockey, because the fact that we had to miss this in 2018 and 2022.
2022 was because of COVID, to be fair.
I don't know. Yeah, sure.
Because they were announced NHL players were supposed to go on that.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, whoever brought up that idea needs to be fired.
Yeah.
Or should already be fired.
Yeah.
But overall, and who's ever leaning towards that NHL players shouldn't be at the Olympics? Just watch the gold medal game. Watch Canada versus Finland game. USA versus Sweden. Canada versus Czechia. Finland versus Switzerland.
2010 gold medal game.
Obviously, 2010 gold medal. I'm just talking about this Olympics because this is the first one, right? So there is no, it should be unanimous that this is what the Olympic hockey should be and NHL players, and it has to be true best on best. So all of those things were hit literally on the head because it was fantastic hockey. And I'm very upset Canada lost. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But another thing I'm gonna be upset about is that the Olympic hockey is over and we have to go back to watching the Vancouver Canucks. Which is
for us, especially.
Which is obviously
But even thankfully, we do cover the NHL as a whole, so we get to see some of these good teams play as well. But it's not going to match the level of best on best. But one thing I do want to say with your point about the Olympics and NHL players, I agree with 100% with everything you're saying. But the only thing I do want to add, an advocate to it, is the political side of things. We don't know what the hell. Not geopolitical. I'm talking about hockey politics between IOC and NHL in that sense. And even if that was the case, I don't know why World Cup of Hockey wasn't. I don't know, 2016 happened, but it wasn't proper world best on best. But that hasn't happened, and hopefully we get that in 2 years, and we'll talk about that later. But overall, let's just get right into the game because at the end of the day, it's a weird game to assess from a Canada side of things.
Look, I am gonna say this with my full bias taken out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna use the word deserve to win and all that stuff. I'm not gonna just say that.
Same boy.
But at the end of the day, there was a clear better team on the ice in the gold medal game. And that was Team Canada. But the difference is you can be a better team, but not get the job done, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all that matters is about getting the job done. Games like this, games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, all of it, only thing that matters is getting the result. Credit to Team USA, they got the result. Credit to Connor Hellebuyck, Matthew Boldy, Jack Hughes, they got the job done. Nathan McKinnon, Devon Toews, unfortunately didn't, because those are two biggest chances that we missed.
There's more to it, yeah.
Right. But the two little open goals.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yes, we can say Team Canada was a better team. Don't get me wrong. The better team did lose. That's a fact. I don't think any fan should be saying that I'm wrong in that sense, because Canada had the better chances. Canada had 40 shots and all those things. But at the same time, there's a difference about being a better team and getting the job done. There's so many times we have witnessed in playoffs and just in general NHL games where the better team loses. In my opinion, I thought USA was the better team in last year's Four Nations final.
Yeah. And
they lost, right? Canada won. This year, it's the opposite. So in that sense, Canada did dominate. It's just that they couldn't find a way to get the puck past Hellebuyck. And Hellebuyck at the end of the day, shout out to him. Coming into him, there's question marks about his play. Coming out of this tournament, clear, bona fide, best goalie in NHL, no debates about it.
Yeah, legacy for him was there. For me, to bounce off your point, I do not like to say the best team didn't win, didn't lose. USA didn't win based on pure. I mean, the refs were atrocious all throughout the whole tournament.
I'm not even bring up the refs.
So I'm not gonna say anything about that. It wasn't it was a one-sided reffing affair. It wasn't like they were doing some behind the back. Bring the lumber as you want to a Shorzy reference or all that. They weren't necessarily doing any cheap shots and all that overall. But yeah, I mean, it's not just hockey, it's all sports. We always say about the Blue Jays, right? But arguments of the best team didn't win. yeah, at the end of the day, you didn't get the job done. And listen, the thing with this game overall, though, is like, yeah, if you're watching this game without the score being on and you put the game on in the middle, you had no clue what was going on. You could tell by which way the ice was tilted, right, for the most part. Canada, like I said, first thing I want to address the Crosby situation. It sucks that he didn't play. He was missed in a sense that the leadership, on ice leadership, wasn't there. I don't know what the rules are for him to be in the locker room if he's scratched.
I think
for
he
a
was in the locker room.
Okay, because I don't know about the scratch one. Obviously, the first Czechia one makes sense.
He wasn't in the scratch players, even in the Finland game.
Okay,
he wasn't where the scratch players usually sit.
Okay, so anyways, he was missed in the sense that like, yeah, your depth gets hurt, which means you kind of had to like put one mega line, which is still crazy to me for Team Canada. The faceoffs were atrocious for Canada for the knockout stages, especially. They were better in this game for sure, but Crosby is one of the best faceoff guys in the league. Obviously, he's a future Hall of Famer and all that stuff. So yeah, he was missed, no doubt about it. But you didn't lose because he was missed. Simplest way to put it. You lost because Devontae had a really good tournament, didn't really have the best final. He obviously, the goal that Boldy scored where he just went through both Taves and Makar, I'm not gonna blame anything too much on it, but like at the end of the day, his first shot was that. A weak goal you let in and you had to play from the behind off the bat. Marchand breakaway miss. McDavid breakaway miss. The 5-on-3 power play. No, look, it wasn't even like Hellebuck went all out nuts on that. It was you guys didn't even set up properly on that. Macklin Celebrini breakaway. You got the Devontae's absolute save of Olympic history up there for Connor Hellebuck, to give him all the credit in the world, but still needed to bury that chance. Nathan McKinnon, I don't know how often he misses those chances, that big chance he missed. And as soon as I saw that Nathan McKinnon miss, and I'm like, in my head, I didn't say it out loud, I'm like, I don't think we're winning this game. Like, simple as that, because the whole third period was us. You could say that Canada played the best 40 minutes of their knockout stage of this tournament. Simple as that, right? Like, they were not good against Finland, they had to come back and win. They were not good against Czechia, they had to come back and win that game as well in overtime. So overall, like you said it perfectly, missed chances, you have to convert them, right? Those people that watch other sports, if you miss easy layups in basketball, that's going to hurt you. If you're going to miss bases loaded in baseball, that's going to hurt you. You're going to miss a field goal in football or an easy catch, that's going to hurt you. In this case, it hurt Canada. Big time. Listen, it was destined for me that USA probably deserved to win this in general, but just because that's just the way they went. They survived the Sweden round. Obviously, they dominated the Slovakia game. But like this game overall, the whole reaction for this game is Canada's missed chances. USA converted when they needed to convert. Their style of hockey was always going to be like the park the bus style. That's how they always play. I thought they would have been a little bit better offensively in that case. But yeah, that's what the overall game from the Canada side was. So that's what ended up happening. On the US side now, the one thing I do want to say is, listen, I can't criticize too much about Billy Guerin freaking putting the roster out there, but I do want to say one thing, because at the end of the day, he still needed Jason Robertson. They still should have had Cole Caulfield because of, and they ended up getting the job done. I get that. But Connor Hellebuck, the Hughes brothers, saved that man's good job for USA Hockey, because if Connor Hellebuck, and I guess you could say Nathan McKinnon with the missed chance, but Connor Hellebuck did not have that performance in the gold medal game, I was already lined up lined up after the Sweden that game if they had lost that game in overtime, and then obviously this one where I'm like, why don't you have Cole Caulfield? Kyle Connor was benched once again. Caden Keller barely played. Your roster was not there. This guy banked on Quentin. All he needed was Quentin Hughes. Obviously, minor change, which Tage Thompson was the big addition because Keller didn't play much because he was more of an extra forward. He banked on the top two defensemen in hockey to be on their team, the best player on their team, respectively, maybe outside of Connor Hellebuck, to get the job done. Quentin Hughes was the hero in Sweden. He was obviously deserved to be the All-Olympic team. They announced with him and obviously Makar. With Hughes overall, it was like, yeah, like, good job, you got the job done. Still gonna criticize you not picking those guys, but you can't really say too much for Billy Guerin in that sense. Because we knew that's how they were gonna play, and it worked out for them at the end of the day.
One thing I want to give respect and give a shout out to USA is obviously carrying on the tribute and legacy of Johnny Gaudreau. Obviously, at the end of the day, it was a great sight to see. It was Johnny Gaudreau's parents were in the stand as well. Obviously, they got emotional.
Family, kids.
Shout out to Matthews, the Kachucks. Shout out to Zach Rowensky, who's his Columbus teammate as well.
Matthew Tkachuk, former Calgary teammate.
Yeah, so obviously in that sense, there's like huge respect to Team USA and huge respect to just the players carrying on.
There's stuff bigger than hockey.
Yeah.
Even as a Canadian, that kind of softened the blow for me a little bit. I'm still pissed that they lost, don't get me wrong. Like, at the end of the day, you want your country to win. But stuff like that, you kind of forget.
That
moments
was a
moments
great,
like that is why it's
yeah.
kind of softened the blow for me.
That was a great sight to
overall.
see overall.
Yeah.
But I want to get into Canada's roster construction.
Yeah.
But before I get into that quickly, I just want to make this point.
Yeah.
Like you just said it before, we did not lose this game because we needed Crosby or Bedard or Shifley or whoever else was on the roster. I want to make that point clear. Just because those guys weren't in the team doesn't mean that we should have still have not won this game. We should have won this game. It's just simple as that. That's the point I want to make here. But at the same time, major criticism of Doug Armstrong is that you're the GM of Team Canada and also John Cooper as well, who's the head coach. And the fact that you had to rely on one line
and one defense
one
pairing.
line only, it just, in my opinion, makes zero sense. And what pisses me off the most is that you had 2 chances of getting Connor Bedard in, and you still passed up on it by putting in Bennett and Jarvis to replace Sorelli and Point, and or Shifley as well, potentially.
Yeah.
Reinhardt, I felt like he could have been deployed better,
Yeah,
but at the same time, he wasn't good. Brad Marchand struggled, especially in the gold medal game. I'm not going to say anything like defensively, Drew Doughty, in my opinion, wasn't great. Parayko, Sanheim, okay.
One thing I do want to say is everybody thought goaltending would have been the main reason why we lost
It's not.
this. It wasn't. Jordan Binnington had a performance of a lifetime. Not Darcy Kemper. Logan Thompson played well in the Switzerland game as well.
Hey, man, Binnington locked up a spot.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. He might be, if he plays like, a really bad goaltender for the next 4 years, I'd still give him a spot on Team Canada.
I can't criticize him too much anymore.
You can't criticize Jordan Binnington
Gold
at
medal
all.
aside,
You cannot criticize goaltending at all. But one thing is that the fact that you're Team Canada and you didn't have depth, you didn't have any other line stepping up, especially in that gold medal game, just one, doesn't make sense to me. Number 2, I don't give a shit if he's tired or if that line was tired. In my opinion, that line and Connor McDavid should be playing minimum of 30 minutes. I don't give a shit.
In the gold medal game especially.
Yeah, like I genuinely don't get, like, why are you not deploying them in every single offensive face-off zone we have? Like, it just genuinely, in my opinion, doesn't make sense to me. And I know this is not a completely different, I know it's a completely different sport. Don't get me wrong, right? But like, at the same time, when you're looking at basketball players literally play 75% of the game. And I know when you're looking at hockey, it's much different sport.
Yeah.
I get that. But one thing I'm going to say is that Connor McDavid only played about 24-ish minutes. That's basically a third of the game. In my opinion, when you have him, he should be playing half the game.
Yeah.
And like, I genuinely, especially when you're relying on him so much, keep him out there. All right. And that's my criticism of John Cooper. Criticism of Doug Armstrong is literally like, you knew that if one injury happens to one of your big dogs, who's really going to step up? Marner had a moment. Suzuki had a moment. Horvat did his role. I thought Horvat played well, even in the game.
There's a reason. Like, to your point of the offensive faceoffs, he was deployed to go in the offensive zone to win a faceoff and hopefully get off the ice.
But when you're looking at it, when you're the main guys, you had the leading goal scorer in Macklin Salarbini. Obviously, you had the leading point getter, Connor McDavid. McKinnon got the clutch goals as well. After that, who was gonna be the guy? In my opinion, it was Connor Bedard, and he wasn't on the team. Obviously, Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
But Sidney Crosby got hurt. And in my opinion, it was Connor Bedard. And the fact that you have to obviously, go for that mega line and rely on that the whole game is, in my opinion, really terrible.
Yeah.
Just terrible management. And number 2, if you had Bedard and you could have just paired Bedard, who is obviously a goal scorer, great shot, all those things, driving the offense in the Chicago Blackhawks and having a great year. He had Bedard with McKinnon, Salarbini and McDavid. What a duo that was in the tournament. And you would have had 2 lines going right there. So that's one big criticism I have of Doug Armstrong, because they went, in my opinion, they went too much. Like, we criticize the U.S. going over the board on that side of like getting role players. I think Team Canada doesn't deserve any praise for what the roster they
right?
built.
Like, whatever team lost, we're going to criticize rosters anyways. So, like, here's what I'm going to say. But first, I'm on the coaching side of things. I did not like the deployment of Sam Reinhart 100%. At the end of the day, I thought he should have had a better opportunity with McKinnon to start off with. I was not a fan of McKinnon this tournament. I know he had clutch moments, but he was, I think, one player that went negative in the thing.
He was playing hurt.
Plus minus, he was playing hurt. I get that, but plus minus. But you still expect a guy like that to elevate a little bit more. The other thing I did not like was when that big three line came out with McKinnon, McDavid, and Celebrini. Why is Parayko the one out there? Why is it like Shea Theodore was not deployed properly to me in a certain extent? Like he's your seventh forward. I did not understand that. I wanted Rudjadi on this team, but more as an extra forward, not a guy that plays a big role in this. So like you're talking about the offensive side, and again, I'm gonna still stand on my point at the beginning of the thing where like I still would have had Connor Bedard on this team. But if they were not able to score goals, I would put more of that blame on the guys that are actually like McKinnon missing the net or like
for
all
sure.
But I'm looking at it more of the puck movement, the defensive side. Because listen, K.O. McCarr had a weird tournament for me where I'm like, he doesn't look like he's taking over a game until he scored that goal in the gold medal game. He made the All-Olympic team. It was McDavid ended up winning MVP. It was McDavid, Celebrini, Slavkovsky. Obviously, Slovakia had a really good tournament. Then it became Hughes, Hellebuck, and McCarr. McCarr, like he was fine. Like at the end of the day, like you're gonna be relying on him and Taze all thing long because you don't have proper guys behind him to either puck move properly or all the case. The one guy you did ended up being your seventh forward in Shea Theodore.
Yeah.
So that's where you look at an opportunity like Matthew. Age doesn't matter to me. And that's where you lose Matthew Schaefer or you lose a guy like Jacob Chikrin or so.
I'm just gonna say this much. For me,
even Evan Bouchard to a certain extent.
For me, it was just inexcusable to have Bedard, Scheifele, and Schaefer out of it. When we were making our roster videos, roster prediction and our roster construction videos, I had Bedard as a lock. I had Scheifele as a lock. I had Schaefer.
That was borderline because
Schaefer, for me personally, is a lock.
Yeah, for me too.
So Schaefer was a lock. I think it was inexcusable because at the end of the day, there's no way that there's no nepotism happening in this. Because at the end of the day, they picked the players they wanted. They are that play on their team. In my opinion, the fact that Bedard didn't make it over Cirelli originally makes zero sense to me.
Colton Parayko.
The fact that Schaefer didn't make it in my opinion, Sanheim or Parayko makes no sense to me. And I know I didn't have too many issues with the defense being the same, but at the same time, what Schaefer was doing this year, it just like you said, he should have played his way on his team.
Yeah.
Same with Bedard. And then overall, I just don't understand those decisions, in my opinion. And I don't know what more Scheifele has to do to make this goddamn team. What does Mark Scheifele has to do?
The only thing I will say that we were also criticizing was the Jordan Binnington situation, like how it was going to be deployed. That was more so performance. That one is the one nepotism I'll accept to a certain, especially even with hindsight. But even before that, I'm like, he got you the job done in Four Nations and all that, and I get that. Listen, we could criticize the roster all day we want. I understand how they ended up losing wasn't the case. One thing I do keep seeing on social media is that 9 times out of 10, Canada wins this game. I agree with that. The problem I'm saying with that is, I don't know how much of it you could throw in the U.S. construction of the roster on this. USA did not play a great game themselves, necessarily. The Kachucks weren't noticeable this game for me. The forward group in general wasn't crazy noticeable. Austin Matthews was getting Ben Simmons comparisons in front of the net. I mean, like, talk about legacy. Him and Hellebuck's legacy rose because he was the captain of this team, regardless of what you want to think of his play.
Matthews defensively was amazing.
Defensively, he was amazing, right? Obviously, Hellebuck rose his legacy a lot in this as well. So, like, the one thing I do want to say with that is, like, yeah, I understand them losing this game, and if they were to play again tomorrow, in a best 4 out of 7, Canada most likely will win. 100% agree with that. But I expect USA to be better as if there was a next game as well. Overall, though, at the end of the day, it is what it is. The one thing that's going to be good for the U.S. side of things is that this is going to spark a new generation of kids looking for this moment. They're going to find their Jack Hughes moment. Like obviously, the young guys saw the Sidney Crosby moment, guys like Celebrini and hopefully Bedard in the future and all that. And in the future, we're going to see maybe we'll see what they end up doing. Because like in 2 years' time, there should be a World Cup of hockey. In 4 years' time, hopefully we get an Olympics and they don't get scared off with the Kevin Fiala, Crosby injuries and all that stuff. Because stuff like that might impact NHL players entering the Olympics. But if the IOC was smart, if the NHL was smart, look at the eyeballs they got across everybody. Because the Winter Olympics, I didn't care much about hockey outside of the women's side of things because it's not truly best on best at the end of the day. Similar to how like Summer Olympics for soccer is for men type vibe. For me, one thing I do want to get to it before we move on to our disappointing and surprising either teams or players that you have. The conversation about 3-on-3. So I'm going to say one thing. James Duthie said this perfectly. There's no excuse. This is for Canada to lose, and you're going to use the excuse 3-on-3 was the reason why. They knew the rules. They knew that before the game, before the Olympics, it's going to be 3v3 overtime. It is what it is. So I'm not using that as an excuse for Canada losing. But from a neutral, from like bias side, even if Canada won that game, like we would have been extremely happy they won that game. But I'm still standing on the fact that you cannot end games via 3v3 because that's not truly hockey. You're not doing a regular season. There's a reason why. And I do agree with John Cooper to a certain extent, even though for him it may seem a little bit more on the pissy side of things of saying it post game, is that it like you don't do that in the Stanley Cup Finals or playoffs in general. You want to play the true 5-on-5, especially for a gold medal game, and do it done. But the other side of things, my argument is for them, no excuse. When Crosby got the golden goal, it was 4v4. At the end of the day, back then there was no 3v3 overtime existing in the NHL. They did a 4v4. Sometimes you see World Juniors or IHS stuff go into a shootout. So at the end of the day, when you look at international hockey from non-NHL perspective, which is the World Cup of Hockey, which is usually that's the NHL side of things, at the end of the day, it is that's the rules, whatever it is. But I do want to bring on the point that, like, listen, if they want to improve the winning side of things, because if this was 5-on-5, Canada had a way better chance of winning this game because they had the ice tilted. Eventually, they would have hopefully buried a chance or whatever the case might be. But yeah, no excuses for them losing because it was 3-on-3. But to better the game in that sense, it should have been 5-on-5.
Yeah, no,
especially in a gold medal game.
This game, like even no, like I feel for Czechia.
Yeah.
Right. I feel for
Sweden.
Not Sweden that much, just because US did dominate that.
We will
game
talk about
a little bit,
Sweden in a
but
sec, yeah.
especially Czechia, because to go out like that obviously sucks. It genuinely does.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it. Like they want to end the games quicker. Obviously, like you're looking at the players' health as well. Like because you don't want to have like 3 or 4 overtimes, right, at the same time. But I felt like it would have been more of an issue if just the gold medal game went to overtime. And no other like knockout stage went to overtime, but there was plenty of overtime games that happened. So in that sense, yeah, it's fair. Like there's no excuse about it. Everyone teams got eliminated because of it. Switzerland, Sweden, Czechia. So in that case, I understand. But at the same time, that game did not deserve to end like that.
Like that, exactly. Yeah. So that's our overall game reaction. We'll go into our Olympic reaction here in a second. So, like I said, we kind of touched base on it, how great it was seeing best on best again, and hopefully it continues in 2 years' time, and then 4 years' time with the Olympics, and we're gonna see guys like Canada hopefully deploy Keaton Verhoff on the defense in 4 years' time, especially Landon Dupont, who I learned was actually a defenseman and not a centerman. In my head, I thought he was a centerman. Obviously, Bedard, McKenna, these guys should be in. So in the future-wise, like if USA had lost this game, I would have been concerned for them in the long term because the up-and-coming talent favors Canada, in my opinion. USA players right now are all in their prime. So the next 4 years, they would have been competitive for sure. Don't get me wrong. But like beyond 2030, it would have been like, ooh, who's the next big guy coming up? James Higgins, right? Like we don't know.
Like I think it's not like with Canada, you have 3. Bedard, Schaefer, Celebrini. Yeah. With US, when you're looking at that young, like 23 year,
like I mean, like drafted within the last 2-3 years type guy.
Yeah, like 22-year-old or younger type of guy. Who is the guy? I'm not sure yet. Again, James Higgins could play his way onto that for sure. Don't get me wrong. And others, a lot of other people as well. But when I'm looking at it, obviously, advantage Canada in the long run. But right now, in my opinion,
it's gonna be close games.
It's close games. It's tight games. But
6 years for sure.
I think as like when you're looking at an overall, all around standpoint, roster wise, I still give it advantage USA because they're gonna have the goaltending, right? Even if it's not Hellebuck anymore, it's gonna be Ottinger, who's a little bit younger. Same with Swayman. And if it's not dumb,
even though Swayman kind of struggle.
If it's not dumb, then you have a guy even younger, like who's Dustin Wolf,
Spencer Knight,
obviously, and then defensively, like they're already a decently young team. Like he's pretty young. And then forward-wise, like Eichel, Chucks, and all these guys are like, like you said,
they're all like relatively in their prime, and they're gonna be there for the next 6 years. So it's gonna be tough the next time we do play them. Chance of revenge. The one thing I'm not as hurt about is like, listen, 2 years time, we should be able to get our lick back. Well, one thing I do want to say before I get to the most disappointing and surprising teams, legacy-wise, I already mentioned the U.S. players that needed that: Hellebuck, Matthews, and all that. The name Connor McDavid coming up. Yes, he won the Four Nations. He got the big goal for that. The first best on, quote unquote, best on best. And speaking of best on best, hopefully Russia gets involved in that as well once hopefully all the BS behind the scenes is over. Connor McDavid not being able to is still a best player Like, it's a perfect example. The guy is the best player in the world. He might not win the Hart always. That's Canada. They're still the best team in my opinion overall. It just happened this day. USA got the best of them. But Connor McDavid not able to win the big one. 2 Stanley Cup final losses in back-to-back years. Obviously won the 4 nations. I get that. But like when it comes to the first big, true best on best opportunity minus Russia, we got. Not saying he played bad or anything, but he couldn't lead their way to the gold medal.
Yes, 3 years in a row. It's disappointment. Obviously, it sucks. But at the same time, is like
he's someone I feel bad for the most.
like yeah,
now.
you're gonna
especially now that I'm rooting
feel for him. Yeah, for sure, 100%. But at the same time, is I'm not gonna say it right now, but doubts are gonna rise. Is when is he ever gonna win a big one?
Yeah,
right. And I know Stanley Cup and now gold medals are gonna be a part of that now as well. Conversation. And right now he's 0 for 3, which obviously sucks. And I'm not counting the 4 nations. Big goal, don't get me wrong, like clutch, but
that most likely be a one-off.
Look,
situation.
and this guy, all he needs is accomplish like the big ones now.
Yeah,
gold medals and Stanley Cups. That's the only thing that this guy needs to accomplish. Nothing else. He's done everything.
Yeah,
right. If he steps away from the game tomorrow, this guy is obviously
a Hall of Famer,
a bona fide Hall of Famer. He's got his 1,000 points, and then he's won the Hearts. He's been MVP. He's won a Conn Smythe when his team didn't even win the cup.
Yeah, as
well, which is a very difficult accomplishment.
One MVP
right?
on a losing team here.
So for him, it's just winning the big ones. It's just simple as that.
Stanley Cup, World Cup of Hockey, and gold medals at the Olympics.
That's it. Yeah,
those are the 3. He needs to win one of each essentially, or one international thing and one Stanley Cup, and he will be cemented as one of the guys. Anyone else from Canada or USA or even the Olympics? Now let's talk about it as a whole. That legacies were either cemented or helped their legacy or declined their legacy.
Just like, I won't say even legacy, just like, even if you go with a little bit younger guys, like who's be coming out of this feeling good, or who's be looking at a little bit differently. Celebrini is like a guy you're like, okay, yeah, this guy's bona fide. Yeah. Solidified, top.
Sucks that he was snake bitten the last 2 games.
He was snake bitten, but the fact that this guy is 19 years old,
relied upon that,
and was the second best player on the team.
Yeah,
it just shows you how much talent this guy has, and how he could step up to the moment, and obviously led the goals with literal top NHL players playing. That just shows you how good he has been. Bennington, Hellebuck, for sure. They should be coming out of this feeling better about themselves as well. UC Soros to an extent, especially in the semifinal. Jacob Markstrom to an extent, because obviously he wasn't having a great season. And then
he had to replace Gustafsson.
Yeah. Gustafsson probably coming out feeling a little bit worse.
Rasmus Dahlin is one underrated one that I would have put on my team of the Olympics if they made it out of the group stage. Or sorry, the quarterfinals.
But me, I think the biggest one personally,
Matthews?
Slafkovsky.
Yeah.
I think it's Slafkovsky.
So let's talk about it right there. First surprise, biggest surprise team, Slovakia. I am disappointed in myself for not backing them heavily when we did.
We were close.
Predictions.
I was.
It helped.
You had Germany. I had Switzerland. I was really close.
We did mention Slovakia slightly.
We did mention Slovakia, but if you picked Germany, I picked Switzerland. I was close. You were not really.
Right, get well soon, Kevin Fiala as well.
As well, yeah.
For me, Slovakia kicked Germany's ass.
But at the end of the day, there's only one answer here, and it is Slovakia. And in my opinion, I believe that they were a good team. I just did because they were younger, right? Like Dvorsky, Slafkovsky, Nemec, like, are these guys really gonna carry the load? And
the one thing we forgot,
definitely did.
The one thing we forgot was these guys were also in the Olympics a couple of years ago. Slovakia, when it comes to they have Olympic experience from non-NHLers as well. That helped. It helped that they did win the games they needed to win and got an easy path to the quarterfinal. Right, they didn't have to go through a Czechia or a Sweden or all that.
But they beat Finland.
But yeah, they be feeling early. But obviously, like the bronze medal game, they ended up losing to Finland bad. But I'm talking about they faced Germany off the bat and then got USA, and we saw the true thing there. But at the end of the day, they're the biggest surprise team of this Olympic run. The other one I do want to put out there is Finland to a certain extent, because it started off disappointing that they got that big win against Sweden, and this is without Barkov.
Yeah.
Right, it could have been a whole different story if Barkov was playing against Team Canada. They had Team Canada on the ropes, and so did Czechia. They had Czechia. We were a little bit on the disappointing side until the Canada game. Yeah. But yeah, I was a little surprised about Finland because that was the one that I'm like Slovakia might have been Finland in that moment. They did beat them the first game, but Finland. And we're going to get to a disappointing team now. Beating Sweden as handily as they did was a big thing. And let's get to it. It's a disappointing team. Number 1, Sweden.
There's only one here. It has to be Sweden, in my opinion. Offensively, they were pretty terrible. They couldn't really score goals much. And I get it. They did have a fair share of injuries. Hedman didn't play the USA game because he got hurt. Leo Carlson just before the Olympics is out. Like William Karlsson was already out. So they were dealt a tough hand for sure. But there were quite a few players that just didn't step up, especially offensively.
I'm going to say this. My biggest criticism is the coach. I don't think he's not going to be there in 2 years' time. Again, assuming World Cup of Hockey happens, he's not going to be there. No, does not make sense that Philip Forsberg did not play the first game. Like he's your 13th forward, but did not play, and then he played a little bit the second game. Did not make sense that Jesper Bratt was a healthy scratch or an extra forward the last 2 games. I understand, like I'm the Elias Pettersson situation. He played like 9 to 10 minutes per game. I get that, but like he was really good defensively. But you're not giving him the slight opportunity to play with a William Nylander or whoever else because you already have a lack of center depth in that sense. Because the upside maybe could have been there if you gave him a better look with the better guys. Yeah, I'm not saying like he was anything amazing. Like it was a Sam Reinhart situation with him as well. And all the difference with him and Sam Reinhart, PD has been bad since for about 1.5 to 2 years now, but. The thing is, like, at the end of the day, we all thought Sweden was bona fide number 3. The deployment of this team, like, yeah, Gustafsson's goaltending was awful, especially in that Italy game. Who surprised a little bit in a sense that, like, I thought they were going to get their ass kicked regardless for everything. But for them to not be a group winner, for them not to, like, yeah, they almost beat USA. Like, I was ready to criticize USA for not bringing a guy like Cole Caulfield, who was the best overtime player in the NHL right now. And yeah, the 3-on-3 screwed them over in the sense that where you give Quinn Hughes a bunch of ice like that, he's going to score. And obviously that helped Team USA in that sense. And we see the bounces, what happened in overtime with McCard pinching and not happening and not taking the play. But with Sweden, it's by far like we thought they passed Russia if Russia were to be in this. And it was not the case. They need a new coach. I still believe in this team to be good. I still believe they have really good goaltending in general. You're gonna have Jesper Wallstedt. Did he end up playing even one game?
He played one, I believe.
Okay, I don't know how that game ended up going for him because it ended up being Markstrom in back-to-back situations. Gabriel Landeskog was out there for when Quinn Hughes scored that goal. Like on a 3v3 situation, you really have a guy like Gabriel Landeskog out there. It makes no sense to me at all. Before we close out this episode, I do want to bring up the women's final game as well, the women's game tournament in general, because listen, we're not just an NHL channel. This is called Beyond the Rink. It's a hockey channel, and I do like the rise of the women's game as well with the PWHL and everything. The gold medal game, Canada ended up losing that game in overtime as well to the US, but the difference was we didn't do any like preview during the Olympics, so like preview of the overall Olympics, we're like, yeah, Canada is gonna be a hard time for them to win. And obviously the first game they played the USA, they got shellacked. USA perfect penalty kill. I think they only allowed 1 goal up until the gold medal game, which they I guess allowed only 2 goals all tournament. We thought heading into that game, it's going to be easy USA, like maybe not 5-0. We got MPP back for that game as well. And we expected, obviously our preview would have been Poulin back, play hard, and hopefully get the goaltending. That's what ended up happening because it ended up not being a 5-0 game again. It ended up being Canada leading 1-0 with 2 minutes to go until the US go Hillary Knight on her last Olympics to break the scoring record as well for the just break the scoring goal scores record. She got the game tying goal and ultimately went to overtime. Again, 3v3, bullshit ending. I get all that, but again, no excuses. For a 3v3 in that situation, it was built for Team USA. They count Taylor Heisey, Megan Keller.
Let's be honest, like that one was USA was gonna, like if USA scored, they were gonna win. It's just simple as that.
Yeah.
Like Canada had to shut them out. And credit to USA's goalie, Frankel. Credit to our Canadian goalie, Desbiens, who were both incredible in this game. But at the same time, it felt like once USA got one, they were going to get it done. Canada played well. Like Canada was a better team in the first period. Obviously, it started evening out. Yeah. And then up until the goal. And after the goal, they really didn't put the pressure on too much. And that's where USA started taking over. I had no faith in them. I'm going to be completely honest. Before the game, I had no faith in them because the rivalry series was pretty dreadful. And obviously, the group stage game was even more dreadful. So again, I probably wasn't going to expect like a 5-0, but probably like a well-controlled 3-1 type of loss.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, yeah.
Yeah, Canada came out. They had a chance. They fought their way, but in the end, this one, you could say the better team won.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, they came out guns blazing. It was a surprise. I was watching this at work, talking to a fellow coworker who was watching the game as well, and yeah, like for me, this game ended up like the ice in general was terrible everywhere, not just even hockey. It was not good for the speed skating when you if you saw what happened in the last couple races there. But yeah, this one was like okay, there was a lot on the roster construction. You look at the young studs from USA. Caroline Harvey, it's scary to say that the two best defensemen on each side, women's and men, is U.S. American born. You could arguably say, like, obviously, Kale McCarr's going to have a conversation. But I'm saying Quinn Hughes and Caroline Harvey, who's a college player, by the way. They had, like, 7, 8 college girls in there. Like, most of them were from Wisconsin, I believe. You have Abby Murphy, is from Minnesota. She is like the best way to describe her is I guess Brad Marchand, or I guess she's American, so the Kachuk brothers to a certain degree. Pest, talented player. She's gonna get under your skin. She was amazing for them. Obviously, Hillary Knight did her thing. Taylor Heisey, I thought she could have done a little bit more in terms of the games against Canada. Like I'm gonna be straight up, we're casuals and we're not fully watching every single
They got the job done.
They got the job done. And listen, like that's where I'm looking at the Canada. The one big question I have is, like obviously we know Hillary Knight is done. Poulin might be still playing the next Olympics. The question is, who's that person from Wickenheiser to Poulin to the next person? Because the U.S. with these young studs, Layla Edwards, I believe was her name. Yeah, the defenseman, like she was really good. Again, a college player and all that. We left some college players at home. So hopefully, and I think the coach is done now. This is his last Olympics. So I am intrigued to see what's going to happen with this Canada team in the future. Because right now in that one, ever since the 2022 Olympics, it has kind of, or I guess to 2025 Worlds, it's all USA, and that looks kind of scary that it's like that. And yeah, the rest of the world is not going to be catching up to that. Obviously, we saw some standouts. Alina Mueller really impressed me for Team Switzerland. She was insane. The goalie as well for them, really good. But if I am more scared of which program, I'm scared of the women's side, that the USA is going to dominate for a little bit. It might be one of those situations where their cycle is now, and then eventually it will move forward. But I do want to give respect to Hillary Knight. Legend. She's a big reason why U.S. women's hockey rose for girls like Layla Edwards, Caroline Harvey, Abby Murphy to rise because, like she grew the game a lot heavily. We could see this Canada-USA rivalry for years to come overall.
Yeah. That's basically
I hate giving credit where credit's due, but in this case it's due. And she's one of the GOATs. She's obviously not the GOAT. That's still Marie-Philip Poulin. But for Team USA, rose to the occasion and elevated the game for women's hockey as a whole, not just for Team USA as well. So man, nothing to add? You're good?
Yeah.
You're just scared about Canada now for the women's side, I think.
Oh man, I'm just pissed off we lost. I have nothing else to say.
But yeah, we appreciate everybody watching. This is our raw, authentic reaction, as unbiased as possibly we could make it. Obviously, we threw a little bit of bias in there. We needed to, but we do appreciate everybody watching. Please hit the subscribe button. We've been dropping TikToks, so follow us on TikTok and Instagram as well. Olympics are over. We're not done. The NHL is back. So we're going to keep dropping content for you guys there. The trade deadline is coming up soon. So you might be hearing us from really soon because the trade might be happening as soon as this video comes out. But we appreciate everybody watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.